Okay, it's now 6:30 and time to start the Murray City Municipal Council meeting for Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018. And I'd like to welcome everyone who is here and ask you to turn off or silence your cell phones. Also, the council meeting may be viewed live on the internet at http://murraycitylive.com. So, welcome. Council members are present with the exception of Council Member Jim Brass, who is excused. And I'd also like to welcome Doug Hill, who is acting as Mayor Pro Tem. So, welcome, Doug. Welcome, everyone else. We'll get started. Okay. We'll start with the opening ceremonies and with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked Officer Mike Obrey to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Obrey. Let's see. Also, we have 6.2, which is approval of minutes. We have two council meeting minutes for March 6th and March 20th, and council, I'll take them together if there are no questions or additions, deletions, then I'll entertain a motion.
Move adoption of the minutes.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Now we're at the part of our council, which is 6.3, special recognition. At this time, we usually recognize any scouts that may be present. I'm not seeing any. Okay, then we'll go on to our regular special recognition, which is to consider a joint resolution of Mayor Camp and the Municipal Council of Murray, Utah, to proclaim, recognize, and support April 2018 as Fair Housing Month. And we have Doug Hill presenting.
All right, I'll read this resolution. This is a joint resolution of Mayor Camp and the Municipal City Council of Murray, Utah, to proclaim, recognize, and support April 2018 as Fair Housing Month. Whereas Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act, which guarantees fair housing for all residents of the United States, was signed into law in April 1968. And whereas the month of April is nationally recognized as Fair Housing Month and a time to reflect on and reaffirm our national commitment to the ideal that fair housing opportunity is available to everyone in the United States without regard to race, color, religion, national origin, sex, familial status, or disability. And whereas the state of Utah, which passed its own Fair Housing Act in 1989, recognizing and affirming that all persons in the state of Utah are free to purchase, rent, finance, and insure their homes without regard to their race, color, religion, sex, national origin, familial status, disability, or source of income. And whereas Murray City welcomes this opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to the principle of fair housing for all, and are committed to all efforts that address discrimination in our communities, as we support all programs that will educate the public concerning their rights to equal housing opportunity, and to assure every person their right to live free of the fear of housing discrimination. And now, therefore, we, the Mayor, and the Murray City Municipal Council do hereby proclaim the month of April 2018 as Fair Housing Month.
Great, thank you. Jim McNulty, you're here for Tim. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Thank you. On behalf of the Murray City Development Services Department, as well as Salt Lake County Housing, we'd like to thank Mayor Camp and the council members for considering adopting this joint resolution in favor of Fair Housing Month, which is April 2018. And I just wanted to indicate that it is 50 years since this passed. It passed originally in 1968, the federal laws for this. And so this has been in place for 50 years. So this is quite a, historic benchmark in this case. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Okay, I'll entertain a motion from the council.
I'll move to approve a joint resolution of Mayor Camp and the Municipal Council of Murray, Utah, to proclaim, recognize, and support April 2018 as Fair Housing Month.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion on the motion? All right, Jennifer?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, now we're at 6.3.2 to consider the swearing in of Murray City Fire Department Battalion Chief Jordan Peterson and Captain Stephen Olson. Chief Gill Rodriguez is presenting.
All right. A little bit, I really love when we hire new people because we interview them, we go through the process, and those that don't get hired, I really don't see again. Promotions are a lot tougher, and I'll tell you why, and especially now, they're a lot tougher because we have some quality individuals. The process is tough, and these two guys came out on top, but it's a tough thing. I can tell you this, though, the fire department future looks good. So
Great.
with that, we've got two promotions. One of them is probably the best promotion in the fire service. The other one's probably the most lonely promotion in the fire service. All right. So with that being said, first, Captain Steve Olson. Why don't you stand up, Steve? He's promoted to captain, and the captain's a great position. Anybody you talk to is like, you're still one of the guys. You still go on calls, but your responsibility is huge because you're also you have such a big influence on your guys, and you still have to be part of administration, and so it's tough, and I'm sure you'll do a good job. Steve's been with us for just under 13 years. As a matter of fact, Steve was the first person I hired as the chief, so that's a good thing. He's got a lot of experience. Steve is also the fire chief in Santa Quin, so yeah, he's not just a pretty face. He comes from a fire department family, as his dad's right here. He brings a lot of experience in wildland firefighting. He's special ops. He was instrumental he was a big part of the Nutty Putty incident down south and the cave rescue. So I'm sure that Steve will do a great job. He's got a great resume, great education, and a great support system, which is very important as well. So with that, congratulations, Steve. Okay, the next one is Battalion Chief Jordan Peterson, and he's got the loneliest promotion. and here's what happens. So as you're a captain, you live with the guys, you go on every call with them, you've got your group, and it's really pretty tight. And it still is. But what happens here is you go to the fire station, whether you have training, whether you have meetings, whether you have whatever, and then it's time to go, and the battalion chief just walks to his car lonely, hoping somebody asks him to stay for dinner. So anyways, you've seen Jordan here before because he was here just a while back as he got his executive fire officer designation. He was here once before that as he was employee of the month. Jordan and Steve, these guys are the future of our organization. If you look outside, those guys are the future of our organization, which you see here. It's tough to imagine having been here this long, but to look back and look at the guys that are coming up, and it looks good. Jordan's got the sync for education. He's got his master's, he's got his doctorate. He speaks all over the nation on firefighter mental health, so he's engaged. Both of these guys are engaged in the fire service, and it's that passion and dedication is really what sets these guys apart. So with that, congratulations to Jordan Peterson, who's battalion chief. you guys come up. Take your badges off and give them to your lovely wives.
Let's start with Captain. You first, I'll leave today. Okay, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Stephen Olson,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
To support, obey, and defend.
to support, obey, and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Utah.
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
And perform the duties of my office.
and perform the duties of my office
As a Murray City Captain.
as a Murray City Captain
With the death.
with the
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, George Peterson,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
To support, obey, and defend.
to support, obey, and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United
And
States
the Constitution of the State of Utah.
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
And perform the duties of my office.
and perform the duties of my office
As a Murray City Battalion Chief.
as a Murray City Battalion Chief
With fidelity.
with fidelity.
Okay, you guys want to have your wives or whoever come up and... Brittany, bring them all up. Before you guys sit down, would you guys like to introduce your family, Steve, your support?
Absolutely. Council and not American. I've got my amazing, spectacular, beautiful wife, Michelle, here. And we have our 5 kids with us. Kyle and Mackenzie just ran the baby out into the hall. Gavin's here, and then James is probably climbing onto something. My parents, Dan and Colleen, and my brother Matt.
I've got the usual suspects with me. I've got my wife, Brittany, and then our 2 wild boys, Jackson and Nixon. And then, of course, I also want to recognize, I think Steve and I are extended family. I'd like to say hi to the guys here. As you guys know, we typically kind of bring the fire department out, but I'm fortunate to have a platoon here that I spent the majority of my career with. And I think promotions are a product of the people around you, so I'm glad to see these pictures here and want to kind of recognize them. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Captain, Chief, congratulations. We really appreciate your service. Thanks. That's wonderful. You don't have to stay if you don't want to, but we love to have you around, so your choice.
We didn't mean you, John, but whatever.
See how quickly they leave? Okay, now we're at number 7, which is citizen comments. These comments are limited to 3 minutes, and unless otherwise approved by the council. This is not the public hearing. That'll be later regarding the budget. At this point, we will do citizen comments. So if you'd like to come to the lectern, if you have comments you'd like to make to the council, now's the time. And please state your name and your address, or where you live.
My name is Damian Dayton. I live on 795 Woodshire Circle. Last time I came before this body, I spoke as a citizen, and since then I've gotten involved with Preserve Murray, and I'm speaking on their behalf today. We understand we're really excited about a lot of the changes and growth that's happening and will be happening in Murray. We just wanted to make sure we had made a statement as we're discussing some of the things like density, that we have some qualitative discussion as well as quantitative discussion. Let me just read a brief statement. Preserve Murray is currently working to preserve some of the historic buildings that give Murray its distinctive character, like the Murray First Ward building. But we would be remiss if we didn't speak up to preserve more than just the architectural character of Murray. We seek also to preserve a sense of living in a living and breathing community, a destination rather than another city to pass through on your way somewhere. In the discussion on density and zoning, we asked the city to take a closer look at the factors that make a city center more accessible for bikers, pedestrians, and people arriving by train and light rail and other forms of transportation. We ask that any changes considered continue along the path to facilitate the development of frontage for small restaurants and retail. We also continue to encourage allowing for mixed-use zoning where residential buildings have frontage for shops and local businesses. Additionally, we would strongly encourage reducing minimum parking requirements for those businesses that promote foot traffic and porous boulevard-style streets with outdoor seating. While Preserve Murray is indeed interested in preserving the history of Murray, we are also interested in human-scale zoning that encourages organic and perhaps incremental growth around a thriving community. Like I said earlier, density is is an abstract quantitative measurement that is ineffective in describing the appearance, form, or function of a city, neighborhood, or district. We know there can be good density and also bad density. We believe that density, or the lack thereof, should not be the sole focus of the discussion. Any discussion of the regulations governing development in the downtown should focus on what our downtown should look like, how it should function, and what uses or activities it should foster. Once those physical parameters of this vision, such as streets, open spaces, building heights, and setbacks and lot coverage are established, the regulations of density become unnecessary and sometimes even counterproductive. Considering this, we hope to pursue a qualitative as well as a quantitative discussion. We hope to preserve a city that you will want to spend time in rather than one that you merely wish to pass through. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Damien. Okay, are there any other citizen comments? If none, we'll continue on to the consent agenda. We have none scheduled. Next is the public hearing. We have public hearing number 1 listed, however, that has been postponed and will be heard at a later date. So it's been postponed but not canceled. And public hearing number 2 is, let's see, consider an ordinance amending the city's fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. And we'll have Denise Deck presenting. Welcome, Denise.
Thank you. It's tough to get in here through the crowd out there. The budget opening, we'll talk about, we'll go through item by item to make sure that you understand them as you vote to approve this budget amendment. So we're opening the budget to receive the sales tax revenue bond proceeds that we received when we sold our bonds, excuse me, a couple months ago. We sold them in January, however, we didn't take the proceeds until March, as we were allowed 60 days to not accrue interest on that money. That money will be used to construct the fire station, and we are very, very close to finishing this purchase of the land for that fire station construction, which should begin this summer. So we'll be receiving $5.8 million of those sales tax revenue bond proceeds. We'll be transferring them to the CIP fund, which is where the construction will be funded out of. We'll also be changing a bit. The legislature changed the way that VEC proceeds, or 911 emergency fees, are distributed. They're distributing directly to VEC. That changed mid-budget year last year, and it was budgeted to receive the revenue and give the expenditures to VEC. We're taking that out of our budget. And it will never, well, not never, the legislature, who knows, but it won't be in it until further notice, until the legislature changes something again. We have 3 grants that we received. They're small public safety grants. The first one is the State of Utah for Emergency Management Performance Grant for fire-related wages for $5,500. So we're getting the revenue and spending it. Utah Department of Health EMS grant for fire-related equipment. Fire department's good at getting grants. They got $6,030 and they've spent that on equipment. And the Utah Highway Safety Office for the purchase of a speed trailer, which we've already purchased as well. And they actually gave us a little more than we anticipated. So this number's a little low, but that's okay. We spent all the grant proceeds. in the CIP fund, so there's no allocation or appropriation of fund balance needed in the general fund. In the capital improvement projects fund, we'll get those bond proceeds we just transferred. We're also asking, typically those would just go to our fund balance because we had budgeted $5.8 million of our cash to fund the fire station, but since we've bonded for it, we now have that cash available. And some property has become available that the city has been interested in for a long time. It's the school district property that's right adjacent to City Hall here. The appraisal has come in at about $2.7 million. And Tim Tingy has a memo and the appraisal that was forwarded to you, I believe, by email. I've asked to budget $3 million just to make sure that we have the cushion that we need for closing costs on that property. The school district has given us until somewhere they said between June 30th and August 30th to purchase that property. So we're going to put it in this year's budget, and if we don't spend it by June 30th, it will roll over into next year's budget, and we'll purchase the property at that time. And then we'll put $2.8 million of this cash towards our reserves in the capital improvement projects fund, which will go to fund projects in next year's budget, and pretty much has been spent. So, and next council meeting we'll be going over next year's budget. So that's the budget amendment. It's pretty simple and easy, but if you have any questions, please ask now.
I have a question. Okay.
Yes.
You said 2.7 on the appraisal, and I thought that when I got the email from Tim that said 2.55. Is that not correct?
Tim's not
No,
here right
Tim's
now.
not here.
It was 2.77, but the appraisal came in high. Tim asked them to go back and reappraise
Okay,
it
that's what I was
based
gonna
on
ask you.
demolition of the buildings
Okay.
versus
Okay.
property with buildings on it.
That answers my
So
question.
that would be the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but those negotiations have not gone all the way
Okay.
through yet.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Denise.
Thanks.
We don't have a sponsor for this one. Let's see. So I will open this for public comment. Okay, seeing none, we'll continue on. I'll close the public comment period. And now we'll take it to the council. So are there any other questions from the council for Denise? Okay. Hearing none, we'll take it to a motion, if the council so
We'll make a
chooses.
motion that we approve an ordinance amending the city's fiscal year from 2017 to 2018 budget.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, is there a discussion on the motion?
No.
Okay, seeing none. Jennifer?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All right, now we'll continue on. We're to unfinished business. There's none scheduled for new business. Now it's to the mayor. Since we have Doug Hill here as our mayor pro tem, Doug, would you like to make a comment?
Thank you. Just a few items that might be of interest to the council and to our citizens. The engineering division of the Public Works Department is sending out to bid the overlay reconstruction of 5300 South between State Street and Vine Street. This, in addition to the overlay, the road will be restriped and will include the addition of a right turn lane at State Street as you're going westbound. I know that has been a problem in the past, and we've received a lot of phone calls about why can't we fix that intersection, and this will be our opportunity to fix that with the new striping and the new asphalt that's going to be put down this spring. Many of our citizens have started to receive letters from the state of Utah Division of Water Rights regarding water rights that may be owned by property owners. Just so that you know what this is in case anybody asks you, what the state is attempting to do is to be able to determine how many water rights are out there so that they can have an accounting on their record of the number of water rights that are located throughout the state of Utah. So they're holding public meetings and encouraging the individuals who own water rights to submit information back to the state so that they can have an accounting of that. So in case you get asked, it's not the city, which we've been receiving a lot of phone calls. The Public Works Department has been receiving phone calls because the citizens are confused, not really knowing what they are. And those inquiries should be directed to the state of Utah. Those are where the letters are coming from.
Yeah. I'm in my area, there's been a lot. When you say water rights, I got a letter. What? Help me out. I thought it was more of like an irrigation.
It's both. It's both drinking water as well as irrigation
So it is
water,
drinking
and they
water.
are sending them to everybody
There's-
because they don't know who owns
Okay,
water
because we've
rights.
had neighbors that have it, and they say, we don't have anything to do with this, and what do we do? And I've told them to contact the state, and it's confusing.
Yeah.
They've done a real bad job of communicating their intent.
Yeah.
I got a mailer today.
I got mine yesterday.
Yesterday. And I got the impression if I don't
Yep.
respond, I have a water right that I'm going to lose. Did you get that impression?
I did. I've had several people, and then when someone called, they said that's not correct. It's confusing.
I'm glad you're clarifying it, Doug. I really appreciate it. But that's kind of the impression I got was that if I didn't respond, I have a water right that I'm going to lose.
Well, and I think that may be what's inferred in this letter, and that's
Okay.
why I think they want everybody who does own a water right, which not everybody does,
Yeah,
right.
to make sure they respond so that they can have an accounting of it. And I suppose, I don't know what the state is going to do with this information, but I suppose if somebody doesn't respond, there could be a chance that that water right might be taken away from
Yeah.
them.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Want to congratulate the good job that our police did in handling the recent homicide and suicide that took place last weekend, and appreciate all of the way that they always respond to these types of emergencies, as well as deal with the press on them. Speaking of the police, the DARE graduations are currently underway in the local schools, and so the police department are out there conducting those graduation ceremonies for those fifth grade students that participate in the DARE program. And then finally, next week is National Library Week, and so the Murray Library will be recognizing this event. Anybody who comes into the library next week will receive a piece of candy, we are told. But in addition to that, next Saturday they will be hosting a fairy tale festival. This event is a fun for all ages family program that it will include pictures, crafts, games, story time, and an appearance from a knight in shining armor and a fairy tale princess. So we encourage our citizens to visit the library this next week in honor of National Library Week. And that's all I have.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. Have to bring the grandkids. Okay, any other questions for our Mayor Pro Tem? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.